Alright guys, first thing this morning we're counting tool carts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 tool carts. We got a lot of tool carts here at the Making It Work shop. I'm Jimmy if you're new here, by the way. But we don't go over tool carts, that's not what we do here. It's automotive repair. We're gonna spend a day in the shop fixing some cars. We got BMWs, Chevrolets, Cadillacs, Mercedes. We got F-150s. We got my 62 C10 project truck behind me here. He's a little bit of love, by the way. Those videos are Sundays. If you haven't seen them, check them out. I'm not getting a lot of views on them, so go check one out for me. Help me out, will you? They're on my main page. There's a whole bunch of playlists, all separated categories for tools, project videos, and day in the shop videos. Plus there's even some car stories and things about how I started my career way back in the day. Yep, you've seen those, haven't you? Check them out if you haven't. Let's get the shop opened up, fire this thing up. Should be interesting, stay tuned. 64 degrees this morning. 64 degrees. Money Talks has been sitting here for a couple of days. I guess they had to order some parts. It's apparently got cooling system leaks. Alright, 535i X-Drive. Trying to get down to that relay so I can check it, make sure it's not waterfowl like a lot of people have problems with. Finally got the trunk open. We found a, well, Katie found on the internet, there's a special lock switch in the console, and when you lock it, it stops it from working. So once you figured out how that worked, we got past it. Now I gotta disassemble the trunk, try to get down to the relay, and that takes a little bit of dancing. Some plastic push pins. This will come out. Oh, this comes out without that. Oh, look at that. Nice. I am going to get the push pins out of there so I can take this completely out of my way. Alright, let's get down here to this little relay. At least check it for power. My goodness gracious, it doesn't. It's on a pretty sturdy little clip. Doesn't look like it's got water intrusion or anything like that. Got it. Now, I'm going to get my test light, check for power in and out of it, see if it's working. If it is, then we're going to have to take the cover off underneath and go down to the compressor. Nothing coming out. And nothing going in. That's not good. There's no power to the control, and there's no power in or out, so I got to check fuses now. Next thing on this thing is to find out where the fuses are. I'm not a BMW technician. I'm becoming one now right now. Found the fuse for this some gum. 15 and nothing. Oh, it's blown fuse. Alright, well that means the compressor's probably bad. I'll show you guys. Let's see if you can see that. Not sure if it'll show up, but oh, there it is. Okay, 14 and a half. Nothing. I'm gonna pop a fuse in there. It'll probably blow again, either immediately or someday soon. We'll pop a fuse in it and see if the compressor will at least turn on. And we'll get some power to the relay. And since I don't see any water intrusion, that's pretty good. I'm going to put it down in this little compartment down here so it's not on the base of the trunk floor. And it won't make any noises either. Alright, let me grab a fuse. What we're going to do is let the smoke out or start the compressor, I guess. I might have to clear the codes too. 14 and a half. It didn't blow right away, but the compressor is also not running. So let me get the scanner and clear codes and see if it'll start running the compressor. Might not look like it, but it's going up. I can feel it very slowly. It's going off my fingers now. Look at that son of a gun. I had to clear the codes, and it went up about a ½ inch and stopped. Then I hit reset control unit, and it started going up. It hasn't blown the fuse yet, obviously, it's working. But I suspect the compressor probably intermittently draws high current or an airbag might be leaking, so the compressor runs so often it gets hot, and then the resistance goes up and the amperage goes up and it blows the fuse. So what I'm going to do is get these airbags filled up. I'm going to lift this vehicle up in the air and spray the airbags with soapy water, see if I can see a leak on the lines or the airbags, and we'll go from there. If I don't see any leaks, then I know the compressor is most likely at fault, although it's not doing it right now, of course. It didn't blow the fuse, right? So I went in here to reset control unit, and at first I deleted fault memory, then reset control unit. This module is called a EHC, electronic ride height control. So looks like it's fixed temporarily. The question is for how long. So we'll look for leaks and we'll know some more. That's usually where the leak is, at the bottom, but it looks good so far. Definitely no bad leaks or anything like that. Got to cover the whole thing because one little spot will be leaking and one spot won't. But these look pretty good. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna say the compressor's just going bad in this thing. See what they want to do. Uh-oh. This Land Rover is a no start. So I put Mr. Gulu on there. Fired right up, ran a little rough for a minute, and I drove it in. Let's see if this thing's charging. We just put an alternator on it like 2 or 3 months ago, but I wasn't really sure if the battery was dead or not, so I put the jump box on there and it fired up. Now I'm in the dark about whether it was dead or not for sure, but 14.2. It wouldn't crank last night when we pushed it behind the fence after it came off the wrecker, but it is charging. Very strange. Maybe there's something intermittently going on with the starter or something like that. You can see the new alternator down there. It goes under the intake manifold. That was the only place they could find a spot for it. It's a straight 6 sideways in a 4-wheel drive truck. So anywho, let's try to figure out what's actually happening to this thing. I'm gonna have to get it to redo it. Now that it's in the shop, if I can get it to not start for me, it'll be a little easier. Alright, we shut this thing off and restart it a few times and see if it'll show itself. Uh-oh. Let's pull the key out and back in. Uh-oh. Some of these European cars, man, this thing's, okay, battery's stone dead. How did it start on my little jump box? Man, that Gulu's powerful when it's fully charged. Let's go out there and look for bad connections on the battery, see what kind of voltage we got with the meter. I'll test between the posts and the terminal, see if there's voltage drop, bad connections, and stuff like that. Oh, 6.9 volts. That's not going to cut it, Bill. See what it is halfway there. 6.9 at the post, too. Let's try the negative. Ah, it's got a bad battery. That's the kind of no start on the Land Rover I like. A defective Napa battery. Oh, yeah. Now we're riding in luxury, boys and girls. 2014 Lincoln MKS. Oh, these are nice, man. Customer states my backup beeper doesn't beep anymore and my rear sunshade stopped working at the same time. Not sure why all the windows are down, but I'm gonna put some windows up so we can have a little peace and quiet. What do you guys say? Put them up at least part way. Crack it so it doesn't, we don't lock keys in the car. Anyway, let's get this car entered into this system. And oh, I see the sunshade back there. You guys see it? I pushed the button, it went halfway up and stopped, which means either there's something jamming in the sunshade or the motor's bad. So the motor draws a little too much current. I think it's like 2.5 to 4 amps or so. If it goes over that, it shuts it off. But it usually will retract it. If it sees a jam, it pulls it back. But it just came up and stopped. So I got a feeling there's something going on with the motor, but we'll have to prove that out. This is on my last vehicle, so we'll get the new vehicle in here and we'll see what we find. We're gonna probably have some kind of codes, I'd assume. And you know we're gonna find those, don't you? You guessed right, topology. This thing's got a lot of modules too. I'm not going to keep you guys here during this whole process. It might take a couple minutes. They're going pretty fast, but we'll come back. Oh, while that topology's cooking, I don't think I told you guys, 24,095 miles. That's about the life expectancy for a Lincoln. I'm sorry, Lincoln guys, I'm just messing around. 66 degrees outside. That's why it's so nice today. A little bit warmer than that, I think, right now, though. That might be because it's in the shade, the temperature sensor. The love rating. The love rating. Not too bad. About average. I'm going to give it a 5. Something like that. Yeah, I'm going to say 5. It's in good shape. Pretty clean, average. Nothing spectacular. I'm going to send Katie this report now that we got it. It's got 2 codes. One is backup beeper code, which is really common. They fail on these all the time. It's just a little module that emits that beep sound and they go bad, but we'll test that. And we're going to also test that sunshade that you see in the back window. You probably see it better that way, huh? I think I have to get to that in the trunk. It's under the rear deck, and I got to check for power and ground at the motor when I activate the switch. So, or I can bring the scanner back there and do it that way. We're going to take a look in the trunk and see which one we're going to choose. Alright, GoPro took a second to turn on. I tried to catch the motorcycle going by about 150 miles an hour. I missed him. Parking aid module fault. Doesn't have anything about the sunshade. Invalid data from instrument panel cluster module. Oh, you can scan the QR code to share the report as well. Let me see if I can find a shady spot and get in that trunk. Let's see what we can see. Oh, I haven't tried that yet. I hear the truck beep backing up over there. Let's put it in reverse. Camera lights up. Everything works with that. Just that there's no beep. So we know all that stuff's working in the back. We just got to get back to that beeper and see why it's not beeping. Alright, we pulled up some data PIDs. Parking aid cancel switch. I want to see if it thinks it's being canceled. The mute status, the rear tone status, and the rear parking aid sensors. So we're going to see what they say. Fault condition, no. Parking aid sensor distance, 2.79 yards, so not quite perfect. It's about 12 feet behind me, but inactive mute status, parking aid cancel switch off, rear tone status inactive. If we put it in reverse, it still says inactive. Mute status inactive. Let's back up and see what we see. If it changes. Okay. The rear detection stuff is all working correctly. But what's odd is it says rear tone status inactive. Maybe it has to work in order to light up. Very possible. Let's see if we can find. There's no actuation test to force it to run. Okay. I'm gonna have to do it manually back there at the speaker. We'll see how easy it is to access and take a peek in the trunk. I'm still working on a shady spot to do it though. Alright, battery is here for the Land Rover. And now you see why I did my O-ring trick. Let me get this out of the way. A little bit more, I think I can. That's gonna have to go under it. Interesting that they did it this way, but hey, whatever. I don't design it, I just fix it. That's why I put that O-ring on there. I made a short about it. If you guys haven't seen it. Just helps hold the parts together. Sacrificial O-ring technique. Let me get this started and see if this thing fires up. I'm sure it will. It'll have 12 volts instead of 6. Get in there, you some gum. It's got an ingenious vent cap. It's hard to tell it's even there. But it's recessed. I had to use a pocket screwdriver to get it out. Definitely want to put that in there. Only because they added it for a reason. So I got to assume it's got to be there. I don't make the rules, guys. I do not make the rules. You guys probably know that by now. If I can get this to fit in there, feels like it's not the right size. Oh, look how small that one is. That's a dilemma. Negative and positive are in. I had to custom make a vacuum elbow that would fit. And then I had to Dremel off the little edge that was on this piece so it would fit into the hole. I don't know why. Maybe I'm not even supposed to put it there. I don't know. That's where it was on the other battery. And get your custom battery tray in place. Gotta have all your little rubber grommets in the right spots. Let's see if we fixed it. Alright, I feel like a winner now. I don't want to brag. I do not. Oh, the bonnet's open. I better go fix that. And then take this for a drive and see what's next. Look at that dashboard. That's 15 years old. I guess that's a common thing. At least it's glued to foam underneath so it won't fall off yet. Alright, for my next trick, we're going to put a rear temperature actuator in the auxiliary air conditioning. They got me a rear actuator. They said, just go ahead and put it in, we'll see if it fixes it. I said, well, I need to get back there and see if the door's broken or something like that. Got the part right here. We gotta take this bin out of the way, take the rear seat out, get this panel off of here. The actuator, I believe, is hidden in the back of the HVAC assembly. So I might have to evacuate and recharge it so I can pull the whole HVAC box out. I'm going to see if I can kind of lean it back to get to the actuator or something. I don't know. I haven't done one of these yet. But we'll find out, because that's how I'm going to try to do it. Got to take the seat belts off. Got to take the upper trim, I believe, goes over it. I'm not sure if this goes in or out. Maybe I'll try to pop this out and see if there's a lip covering this, then I'll have to take this off. If this goes over this and that has the lip on it behind the black panel, then I'll be able to leave them on. We'll take a peek and see. Two of those. Ah, there's a third one. Knew it. Should have known it anyway. I didn't know it. I do now. Four of those. I can get this up. I can get the phone and get the rear seat out. I think there's like something like it goes into something on the floor like a channel, and the front kind of hooks into that, and then it's bolted in the back. That's pretty easy. I wasn't thinking that was going to happen so easy. You know the airbag emblem wasn't covered, did you? You do now. It said something about removing this rear strut. I don't know why. We'll see. Oh, you see the old Nissan out there? Paul's driving it to the back. Yeah, customer came in saying his battery died, and it seems like the alternator's not working. We messed something up when we put the belt on. He wants a free alternator. Oh well, what are you gonna do? The perils of the business. I just climbed back out. There's a screw down here inside the bracket under the armrests, so you gotta take that off. Get that little screw. 7mm. Now we should be pretty close. Oh, look at that thing. I don't even have to lift it all the way out. Do what? Oh, but look at that. Can't see an actuator yet. That's terrible news. So the picture was accurate. The two actuators on the back side, because if you put them here, it's way too easy. I want to make the rules. I'm going to have to unbolt these ducts, and then there's a couple bolt studs in the floor, and there's a couple bolts above, and I'm going to see if I can tilt the case without disconnecting the heater hoses and AC hose. If I can't quite tilt it enough, then I'm going to have to pull those and disconnect all that stuff. Evacuate, recharge, drain and fill, all that kind of stuff gets added. 10mm. Kind of snaps on to the auxiliary HVAC. I gotta go underneath this bolt or two underneath 10mm studs, stick them down. It's already pretty wobbly. I'm inspired. It might work. Well, I hope you guys can see them. I'm gonna have to get an extension because of course the muffler's in the way. And I'm gonna drop the exhaust. So, an extension of 10. And then I'll figure out how to get them back on afterwards. You know, that's my problem, not yours. I'll sort it out. Don't worry about me. I'll be alright. Show you guys a little trick. What I did, I took the nut all the way to the bottom of the studs and I left it on a couple turns because I figure I can't pull it all the way out anyway because the hoses are going to be hit, you know. So, but look, I feel pretty good about it. I got the whole actuator in my hand right here. I'll try to show you guys, but I think it'll be okay. I'll lift this out and I'll show you guys. That's what I got to get to right there. It's the bottom one though. See the bottom one? The bottom one's the temperature, the top one's a mode. I'm gonna pop it right in there. It looks like someone's probably done this already. I cleared the code, it didn't come back for 2 days. The second time we drove it, it came back. So I'm gonna pop the actuator off and see if the door moves freely. If it moves freely, we already got it here to install it. If it doesn't move freely, then we need a different part, which that was my concern really. The actuator is probably the cause, but we'll see. I'm gonna try to get back there with this bad Johnny. It looks like a Torx bit. I could probably get a power tool back here, but I fear even that little quarter drive's not gentle enough. And it's a wood screw, it's like a few turns. No big deal. Unless I drop it, then that would suck. Oh, nice. Alright, 3 screws. It's actuator time. I didn't unplug the electrical connector yet. That's last. Let me turn the door. Yeah, the door is perfect. Alright, I'm gonna get this electrical connector out of here. We're going back together in a second. Now to put this on, you find the spline and worry about the bolt second. You got to catch the spline for the door first. And I'll plug the electrical connector in after I get, there's a screw right below it. So I'm going to go ahead and put all the screws in before I plug it in. It's all bolted in. Now it's even plugged in too. Oh man, this thing's going to be like a new car, I'm telling you guys. We better start moving along. We got 45 minutes till lunch, dang it. Let's go. I need my flashlight. Cover me, I'm going in. You got my 6. Electrical connector. Duct's all bolted, snapped on. I gotta get the front bolt in the bottom of this big duct. There's a 10mm down by the bottom where the seat belt attaches. Then I think we're ready to put that cover back on, or as they call it, a quarter trim panel. I gotta put that front, I guess that would be the C-pillar. I took that off, you know, me being a logical, common sense kind of person. Since the rear one trapped the cover, I took the rear one off, and then I went and I tried to take the front one off, but they're opposite, they're not the same. So one traps the next pillar up and the other one is trapped by the pillar. So the C one's underneath the quarter trim panel and the D is over the quarter. I don't know. You guys, you know what I'm saying? And you put on the next panel, it holds it in a little bit more. And then I gotta get that screw. That's what this magnet's for. Try to get that screw in the hole and turn it enough to get it to pop off the magnet, because it's back in there about that far. It should be fun. I can't remember which way a seatbelt went. Huh? Yep. I'm talking to the camera. Oh, sorry. You turn back, you're looking through. If you can't remember which way the seatbelt goes in, buckle always faces out. I mean, it's something that you just wouldn't stop to think about probably. I didn't think those were my fingerprints, but they are now. Or they would have been, but they gone. Should just drop into those little hooks in the front and then you bolt it in. Could it be that easy? Yep, it is. Everything's always easy. It dropped down in the hole sideways and fits in there perfectly. Alright. Stop it. Or else you're going to bed without dessert. Gotta flip this rubber lip up over the plastic. If you took it off and had a mark in there where it was pressing on it, then you wouldn't have to, but this doesn't have that. Nice. The doors must go. Ha! Ta-da! Done before lunch.
Mr. Jimmy's here?
Yes, sir.
By any chance you have a chrome half-inch universal?
I got so much stuff you can't even... Let's fire this thing up, let it warm up a little bit, and then we'll go to the rear control panel and try to work the rear AC from hot to cold. Make sure it works. Should be like a brand new car, I'm guessing. Alright, if your kids get a little cold in the back, you can put that up 12 degrees warmer than the front. Oh, that's nice. It did something. Let's make it cold again. Alright, it's cooling off. I think we won. I think it's another victory. Most of the time on these, the actuator's bad, but you still got to be thorough. Because it's so hard to get to, it wouldn't make any sense to take it all apart, put your voltmeter in the control circuits, see if it's commanding it and if it's responding. And it has a sensor. What normally happens is 5 wires, and the sensor wire sends a signal back. When the HVAC panel moves it, it sends a signal back showing that it's moving. When it doesn't get the signal back, it knows something's wrong with the actuator and it sets that code. The problem is it could have napkins or, you know, candy bars or something jammed in there stopping the door from moving, or the door itself could be broken too. So, but this one's fixed. Temperature changes, everything's good. Let's see what's next. I think the Cadillac I put the fuel pump in got towed in. I think there's a problem either with defective fuel pump, or maybe there is something wrong with the fuel pump control module. You guys remember I showed you I had my voltmeter in it, and I had a couple of volts less than battery volts while I had no fuel pressure, but then it started and I let it run until it did it again, verified I had voltage and no fuel pressure, but it's back. So we'll check that one. I think it's going to be after lunch though. Makes me kind of sad. Well, looking at my comeback, and we pushed it in the shop before I went to lunch, like literally 2 minutes before I went to lunch. Had to push it in, it wouldn't start. Put in my back probes and it starts. So I'm wondering, is something going on with a connection? I had them get me a fuel pump control module just in case. It's either going to be a connection, a control module, or the fuel pump's defective. I got codes for fuel pump control. It's really mad about something. High voltage means a lack of ground normally. It's probably ground controlled, I'm not sure. I'll have to look at the wiring diagram. Let me clear these codes out, just in case that's a factor in how it's controlled and things like that. I'm at 7 volts. I'm going to look in data stream and see what the duty cycle is on the fuel pump control module, and then we'll see where we go from there. Fuel system data, desired fuel pressure, desired fuel rail pressure, fuel rail pressure sensor. There's 2, I'm not sure why.
Keys in that reverse.
I put them back on the hook.
You're done with it, right? She's good to go?
Yep. Alright, we got desired fuel pressure, 57.8. Fuel pressure sensor, 57.8, varying slightly, which is normal. Desired fuel rail pressure, that's where it steps up the pressure with the mechanical fuel pump. Fuel pump enabled circuit not run, test that it's not run. Fuel pump enabled circuit low voltage, okay. Fuel pump enabled circuit high voltage. I'm going to lift this up and pull my voltmeter back probe leads out of the connector and try wiggling the connector and see if that does anything. Sometimes tugging on hard works, sometimes just a gentle touch. Very disheartening. Of course, I put my voltmeter in and let it down and it fired up. You guys remember too, when I replaced the fuel pump, I said, man, this fuel pump looks new. So whatever happened, someone else probably did the same thing. I feel some heat too. That wire feels like it's a little warm. I could amp ramp it. This is a new GM fuel pump in here. The wire is definitely getting noticeably uncomfortable hot to touch. I'm gonna let it run. Wait till it shuts off again. Worst case scenario, I'll cut this wire harness open and I'll pinch the wires to test them. And Then I'll just have to repair the pinch hole. That way I'm not disturbing the connection. I can feel it. Man, air guns are so noisy. You archaic caveman mechanics. Whew. Let's see what kind of amperage we got. 7. It's basically 8 amps. It's not terrible, but it's a little high. I have to look up the specs, see what it's supposed to be. It's got to be on a 15 amp fuse to be that high. It shouldn't be more than 50% of the fuse's rating. So if it's on a 10 amp fuse, that's too much. I could look that up too. I'm going to put my pokers in here, get my voltmeter attached permanently, and when it acts up, I'll be able to see without pushing the back probes in. Maybe that's a factor in if there's a connection issue. But we got to figure this out because that's not cool. We're going to officially call this the comeback contraption, and we're going to, we got jumpers and leads and extensions so I can have my meter right there ready to go. It's about half battery voltage, so that tells me it's running the pump at about 40-50% duty cycle. You can keep the scanner cooking. I got to put an alternator. He said that ever since we put the belt on his car, now the alternator's broken, doesn't charge. Should be pretty easy, I think. Yeah, this is the one that has an 8mm down here, and a 12 or 14 locks down the adjustment. Should be able to do it from the top. I think that this coolant tank out of the way can make it a little easier. Some 12mm action on that upper bracket. Well, it wasn't overly tight, but looks like original. That doesn't mean it wasn't out at some point. Let's see if this one's tight. Maybe. Whoa. Alright, the long one goes in the alternator and the short one goes in the engine. Let's remember that. I am going to disconnect the battery because it came in with a dead battery anyway, so the memory's already gone. Settle down now. I think I'm going to have to use manual tools for the old tensioner, so I don't have a lift. Oh, they fixed the outside lift, guys. That's it. They came by and fixed it today. Very exciting. And I can use a power tool for that. 8mm down there, I think. Let's see if I can get a 14. I got the 14 from the adjuster lock. Let's see. Alright, I'm starting to feel more like a winner again. I was losing that vibe. All of that wind and stuff. There's a second bolt on the bottom. Faces the exhaust manifold. Oh, but I think it'll be good. I think it'll come out by hand now. Okay, I'm a winner again. I don't want to hear it. That connector rolled out of the way. Looks like there's a big giant hole, but there really isn't. Because alternators are pretty big as holes are concerned. Now you know why I took that coolant tank out, don't you? Look at that thing. Alright, no worries. We got a quality CarQuest remount part. There's a bolt in the back here, but it doesn't thread in, and it's only in like a turn. So luckily it doesn't matter. I don't need it for anything. And then there was a nut on here, and it didn't feel right coming off. I had to get a wrench. I couldn't spin it by hand. I take the original nut, and it doesn't thread on. So immediately I'm gonna have to fix the threads at the very least. So let's just hope it works. Threads are all boogered up. My goodness gracious. That's a thread chaser, not a tap. The thread chasers don't remove as much metal as a tap does. They just kind of clean up existing threads. The tolerances are slightly different, I think. I know CP and a couple other people had videos about it. CP the Tool Addict, talking about how thread chasers and tap and dies are the same thing, but in my experience they're a little bit different, but yes, very similar. This is great if you already have threads and you just want to clean up with something that's slightly damaged, where a tap will kind of make threads and something that doesn't have any, they're a little sharper and they take off more material to me. That's what it seems like. But the stud's fixed, and that's what really matters. Oh, you guys, my wife's making Christmas cookies now. It's begun. The holiday has officially begun at our house. Her and my oldest son, Corey, they really like to bake. Well, I kind of make them, almost by force. My favorite cookie is called a chocolate crinkle. It's like a brownie ball, and they coat it with powdered sugar. Put them on little balls on a baking sheet, and as it cooks, it flattens out and makes wrinkles or crinkles. That's where the name comes from. Right? Freaking awesome, especially when they're really fresh. They're only like a day old, and the phone's ringing. It's really good stuff. Anyway, you guys have your favorite Christmas cookies? Tell me in the comments what your favorite is. She made those, chocolate chips. She's making Linzer tarts and something else. There's another one. I think peanut butter with a Hershey's Kiss in the middle. Peanut butter sugar cookies with a Hershey's Kiss. Ah, it's going to be good Christmas. I'm going to get all the bolts started before I tighten it up. This one goes from the other side. You guys knew that, right? Snug these bolts up. Throw the belt on there. We'll see if this thing's charging. That's the objective, to get this alternator with all the messed up threads. See if it works. Oh yeah. Doesn't quite fit. Almost. So close. I was thinking if I didn't have to get my gear wrench. No, oh, these are the mountain ones. Schmuckatelli tried to post something, and YouTube said it did not meet their community guidelines and took it down. That's pretty funny. He sent it to me in an email so I could laugh anyway, because it was pretty funny about Xi Jinping running YouTube. Oh, it's good stuff, man. Be careful on this one. It only needs about 8 or 10 foot-pounds. You don't want to get crazy on that little stud. So now, all we gotta do is lock that down. We're gonna know in just a minute if this thing is gonna work. We used to get a bad alternator every now and then. You know, maybe out of 30 or something. And I would say nowadays, it's like 2 out of 5 don't work. And every time you ask them about it, they're like, oh my goodness, you're the only one having problems. What's going on? But then you talk to the other shops in the area, they're like, oh yeah, every one of them's bad. I'm like, hey, they're not telling us the truth. They want you to think it's your imagination or something you're doing wrong and not question their product. That's a lot easier than making the product better. Cuts into your profit margin, you know. Must not be too bad. They keep paying us warranty labor for stuff. And eventually you'd think they'd have to be like, oh, we're losing a fortune here. Let's make a slightly better product so we only have half the problems we're having now or whatever. Have I said it before? I don't make the rules. A little windy today, but it's nice. It's like 70 degrees, something like that. Very nice. This car is basically done. One 10mm bolt and a battery terminal. I'm not even going to film the rest. I'm going to leave you guys in suspense. I'm going to get this all buttoned up. We're going to see how it's charging. I'm not going to raise the RPM. I just want to see if it's charging. Perfect. 14.4. Whew. On to the next fiasco. The next car. Hopefully it's not a comeback. Uh-oh. I shouldn't have joked about it. The Lincoln F-150. It's back. Yeah. Had it running the whole time I did the alternator. Don't be jealous. 2003 Mercury Grand Marquis. This thing here, 84,267 original miles. Let's give it a love rating, because I'll tell you right now, this thing, mint. This thing is a 9. The only way I'd give it a 10 is if the glass was clean and there was no wiper marks. Like if I look at it, so the glass was all nice, like perfection, that would be a 10, right? This is as close as you can get without being quite perfect. It's super, super nice. A Ford boss mate, eat your heart out. He loves these things. Grand Marquis and Crown Victorias. He said he got the engine compartment pressure washed. Why someone would be compelled to risk that, I don't know. But he said his check engine light came on afterwards, so we're gonna find out why. When someone says I had a pressure wash and a light came on, you have to remember, 1, it might not be true, and 2, could cause many different kinds of problems. It could break a connector or a wire. It could push water into a connection, cause a poor connection. After some time it'll corrode. If we can get a code real easy, then we'll be able to figure it out real easy, right? Allegedly, because we'll go right to the component, pull the connector off, and look for water intrusion. These weather pack connectors under the hood of most cars, they're made for rainwater and running water, not for pressurized water at 800, 2000 psi, whatever the case may be. They're made like if you take a water bucket, like a flower pot, a flower watering, what's that called? You guys know. If you take one of them flower things and you're watering your flowers, you could run that on the engine all day long. It won't cause a problem with the connector. But you shoot a high pressure washer at the connectors, you're just asking for trouble. So if you just started car detailing, maybe you wouldn't know that. I don't know. We're gonna let this thing boot up. We're gonna run a topology if it allows it on this vehicle, and then we'll see where we go from there. We'll come back. Oh yeah, this is one sweet module right here. I'm telling you right now, this thing is super nice. Oh, see how nice it looks under the hood. Uh-oh, we got codes. Before I show you guys, anybody want to guess? Now think Ford V8 and keep that thought in your head. What normally happens with a Ford V8? Misfire, cylinder 7. That is on the wrong side though. Usually it's cylinder 4 and they're leaking coolant, and it goes into the where the manifold cracks and coolant goes into number 4 spark plug hole, and the coil gets messed up. But this is 7. This is the second to last cylinder on the driver's side, because Fords go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we got misfire at startup, misfire cylinder 7, and we got a lighting control module code for ignition key in circuit error. We also have a battery low code and a variable assist power steering. So we'll take a quick peek at the battery, and we're going to go to cylinder 7 and see what might be going on over there. Uh-oh, the hood shocks are no good. What do I do now? I'm in a spot holding a camera, a scanner, and the hood. Something's got to give. Ooh. That's alright, it won't hurt anything. Well, I don't know. Yeah, it does look like it was pressure washed. Okay, I was wondering if it had been, but it does look like it. I can't see much of anything without my light though. Let me get that. Let's go down here to 7 and see what we can see. I'm guessing it has nothing to do with the fact that it was pressure washed, but it's not really tight. It's an aftermarket manifold. Someone's changed it already. Yep, no water intrusion that I can see. Nothing terrible. Not corroded or anything like that. It's probably got a coil going bad or a spark plug, and who knows if it's ever been tuned up and that kind of thing, right? I could go to an easier cylinder. Maybe I'll pull a coil out and we'll have a look and see if it's got old spark plugs in it and that kind of thing. Well, you know what I'll do too? I'll bring up the IDS style raster pattern, or power balance test they call it, and we'll see what that looks like. Special functions, power balance. Okay. Could also have water down in the spark plug hole. That's something to consider as well. But I want to at least see the misfire before I go digging any deeper. Cylinder 7 is the third one. I'm going to put a little load on it, put it in gear, give it a power brake, as if I was going to lay wheel. No, right now it's not doing anything. It's also possible it had water contamination that's gone away. And the check engine light's not even on presently. All right, I clear the codes. And we will, I hear the catalytic converter rattling. I'm going to go clear fault memory. It's probably going to tell me to shut the engine off. Oh, it did it. Ha! Told you guys it would do with the engine running. See, there you go, no codes. So I'm probably going to assume, I do want to look at a spark plug, but I'm going to assume that there was water contamination that's been cleaned up, and now maybe the problem's not there anymore. Or it's got a worn spark plug, a weak coil, that kind of thing that shows itself once in a while. Because it's not showing itself right now. Let's take a quick peek at a spark plug. If the spark plug looks okay, I'll just go up front and tell them that it's not doing it right now. I should get a slight wobbly as the fuel rail pushing against this extension a little bit. This is the easiest plug to pull out, by the way. So I figured I would do this one. Because all we're doing is, oh man, that looks fairly new. Oh, covered in dielectric grease. It's a double platinum Motorcraft, not original and not in bad shape. It's hard to tell with platinum, but using my backwards Pittsburgh. Yeah. Spark plugs are good, so we're gonna let them come back if it acts up again and resets that code. Does that one look familiar? Customer states, runs poorly, exactly like before. So I fired it up, it runs good, no check engine light. I don't know what's going on, but the end of the day is close. So that's always good. It's one of those days, but that's all right. That is okay. Don't let them steal your joy. 169,276 miles on this 2008 Hyundai Accent. They even saved money by not bothering to chrome their own emblem. This is one of those economy cars. I'm gonna go ahead and see what kind of codes we have, if any codes. It runs pretty good. I mean, I feel the engine, like the motor mounts are sagging. You're letting the engine kind of sit low. And when that happens, it kind of feels like the engine's sitting on the steering column. So that could be what she means, but when this car came in originally, she said it would stall when she put gas in it and be hard to start. And gas would go in very slow. We put a canister, the vent was clogged in the canister, it wouldn't let it put gas, wouldn't let gas go in. And then the purge valve was stuck open because the charcoal canister had come apart and the granules went throughout the system and were sticking the purge valve open. So you might remember I put 3 purge valves on it, 2 from Napa, and then we got 1 from Hyundai. We did also put an aftermarket knock sensor in it. Maybe that could be doing something, but it would make it run rough. It would put the check engine light on. We're gonna dance a little bit, and I'm gonna bring this car up, and we'll see what we see for codes and go from there. I'm gonna stop this annoying key chime somehow too. Oh, I know. Boom. There you go. Airbag lights on, which you guys might remember I checked the sensor in the seat's bad. She didn't want to fix that though. We'll come back once I get the codes up. We'll see what's going on with that. Codes we got: PO328, knock sensor circuit 1 high. It only has 1 bank. PO496, evap system high purge flow. And we got the B1448 for the occupant classification. I've already forwarded a copy to Katie. So what we're going to do is go in here and we'll try to look at some freeze frame data and see what's going on with that. Current. Okay. Maybe it'll show me that way. Engine was warm, 2600 RPM. Fuel trims look decent, 63 miles per hour. Next page. Oh no, there's only 1 page. Okay. So it doesn't give you a lot of information in that one. Both codes at the same time. Clear fault code, read fault codes, no trouble codes. Back, read data stream. There are no misfires, so I'm not going to bother with that. Let's look at knock adaptation. Try loading it, see what happens. It's a zippy little 4-cylinder, I'll tell you what. It actually broke the tires loose pulling it in, pulling it over here. We'll look at misfires too. Misfire 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we'll graph them. Oh, it's going to show me knock and mess. Okay, because I didn't eliminate them. Nothing. Well, I got to assume something's going on very intermittently. We put an aftermarket knock sensor in, which those can be a problem. That could be something that needs to be a factory part. I've seen a lot of people having problems with aftermarket ones. But the purge valve, maybe that code's just in there from history. You know, I didn't clear it out last time. I can't be positive. It's cleared now. I'm going to go under the hood real quick, I think, and just make sure it's not leaking vacuum when I have it turned off at 0. It shouldn't pass any vacuum. If it's doing it again, then that would be purge valve number 4. I blew the lines out. There was carbon granules in the lines in some places because that old canister came apart. I wasn't getting any more granules out after this. Before I put the original purge valve in, I blew the lines out. And then I blew them out again on the third one when we put the OEM one in, which was last time. Because sometimes those little granules will cause all kinds of trouble with solenoids because they don't have gigantic springs to slam them shut and crush those granules. It doesn't take much to hold them open. It's basically a magnet. So, alright, let me go under the hood, see if I can spot a vacuum pull through it and see what's going on if there is. Purge valve's at 0. But it's flowing vacuum, so purge valve's bad. I'm going to take it off and check it for granules. Maybe there's some trapped granules that are intermittently releasing from the line or something like that. That'll be the 4th one. Not seeing anything. Not seeing anything inside it. I don't know. Let's go tell them up front. Alright guys, it's very possible we may have this sorted out because Paul did the first purge valve. I don't know if you guys remember that video. It was like, I don't know, 2 months ago now, maybe 2.5. He did the first purge valve and he says he put it back on the way the one he took off was. And then when it came back defective, I put another one on the way it was. And now that it's doing the same problem again on the 4th one, I went and looked. I wonder how the purge valve is supposed to be oriented. And the diagrams I look at, it's been like this. It actually goes upside down though. We've been putting them on like this with this bellows or the diaphragm to the outside. But in the picture, it goes like this. Because the throttle body's right here in the picture I have. And this is on the back side of the rubber cushion next to the throttle body. That could definitely be a factor. These are made to work in one direction. You can't force it to work the other direction. You can't pull the solenoid closed under a vacuum. So I tried pulling a vacuum through with my mouth now, and I can't. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it back on facing the other way, and we'll see what happens. We got nothing to lose, right? It's either that or we're gonna need a 5th or 4th purge valve. I think this is the 3rd one, so we'll need a 4th if it still does it after I put it back in the normal direction. Well, I'll be a inexperienced rookie mechanic. It's not pulling a vacuum. That would make me sad. That would make me very sad. But at the same time, it makes me very glad. So it's kind of confusing. Alright. Took her for a little drive. It may not have been enough to run the monitors. I didn't look to see monitors run or not run yet. What I'm going to do is take this thing for a drive again in the morning. Paul put one on, and he said that when he went in there, he said the feed vacuum hose had been messed with and it was kinked. So he replaced that vacuum hose. He said someone had been in there messing with it. So he replaced a piece of hose and put the purge valve in. When it came back defective, I put another purge valve in, but we turned it around. So we'll see how it works tomorrow. Pretty discouraging. I got to look at that Lincoln F-152. He says it still runs rough. I said, well, it may have a vacuum leak or something like that. I went out and ran it for a few minutes. I didn't have the camera with me. Ran it a few minutes. It feels like it has a slight little, like the idle just kind of, like it might have a vacuum leak or something like that. But what it had last time was a dead cylinder not doing anything. So that's why I had the compression tester. You might remember all that stuff I went through with that thing. And we put 8 spark plugs in it, no coils or anything. Thanks for watching today's video, guys. I appreciate it. A little bit frustrated right now, but we'll be okay. I'll just keep the smile on my face. And I'll keep rowing. We'll be okay. Hope you guys will torque the like button, and I hope I'll see you in the next video, because you're awesome. Alright. Cadillac's been running for 2 hours.